When's the last time you looked at your homeowner's insurance?
We buy a homeowner's policy and never give it another thought until something happens. Life brings changes, and our coverage needs can change. The smart thing to do is get the answers and level up our insurance to make sure we're totally protected.
That's the Insurance Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today by calling Guahan Insurance Services at 475-1162 or visit us at the Camacho Landmark Center in Tamuning.
Great news, Guam! Chili's 2 for Dining is back. Enjoy a full-on meal deal made for 2 for just $35. Start with 2 Coca-Cola beverages, an appetizer to share, and 2 mouth-watering entrees like the sizzling personal fajitas, the mouth-watering honey chipotle steak and shrimp, or Chili's world-famous fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Available for a limited time. Dine in today or call 648-7377 to place to-go orders. Chili's is located on the 2nd floor of Tumon Sands Plaza. Chili's. Savor the moment.
Leah Dunca from Security Title here with a little information about trusts. A trust is a legal entity capable of owning property. It can protect property from issues such as lawsuits or divorce and can be used to distribute property and avoid probate. Many trusts start as revocable but become irrevocable when the initial trustees die. Work with your estate planning attorney to see if a trust is a good fit for your family property. Call the professionals at Security Title. We are here to help.
Guam Auto Spot has the best selection in Buick, GMC, Mitsubishi, and used cars like the 2021 Mitsubishi Mirage starting at $127 per paycheck. Zero down. Call 671-478-AUTO to take a test drive or get pre-approved online at GuamAutospot.com.
Welcome to Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie, the only show on talk radio where common sense is a lot more common. Phone lines are now open at 888-TALK. That's 888-8255. And now, The Point proudly brings you Tall Tales with Senator Bob Klitzkie.
And now, sitting in for the vacationing Bob Klitzkie, here's Daryl Taggarty. Good afternoon and welcome to Tall Tales for a Friday, October 22nd. I'm Daryl Taggarty, sitting in for Bob Klitzkie. Thank you. And Bob will be back. I just heard from him this afternoon. He will be back, and so we'll be enjoying his version, the original version of Tall Tales, in not too long. So stay tuned. In the meantime, I'll keep you entertained and hopefully informed over the next couple of hours as we take a look at what's going on around the community these days. Just as I was on my way over here, I got a suggestion for a topic to bring up in case any of you have missed it. I sort of glanced over it, but I'll get to that in a little bit. But anyway, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There was a reason why the Founding Fathers put that amendment in to the Constitution. It was necessary to ensure that the people would remain sovereign and not government functionaries, basically our employees. And so when there are Second Amendment issues to discuss, we will discuss them here. And first, on Tall Tales. Today, I don't have anything for you for Second Amendment, so we welcome your help in solving Guam's COVID-19 puzzles. We can't solve our puzzles? Anyway, we will. It's a page one story, but it's like 3/4 of the editorial page.
I like to buy a vowel.
What's that?
I said I'd like to buy a vowel. I'm helping them solve this puzzle.
Oh, anyway, it was a page 8 story in the PDN, but besides that, a little difference of opinion. You know that I've had an opinion about this, and finally it's news.
Yeah, but it's also a story in the editorial.
Oh, it goes on and on and on. I'm not going to read the on and on part, but what was kind of interesting is that weren't we talking about this like 2 weeks ago? And now, actually, it is coming to pass, but actually at the time we were talking about it, it was already in the works. It was already being requested. So good. I'm happy that things are going in that direction. And I'm glad that it didn't take us really to kick him in the pants to do it. It had already occurred to him to do it. I'm talking about the Director of Public Health. However, here I am talking about it already, and we haven't even started in on it. But anyway, the Director of Public Health, Artson Ogston, a really decent fellow, from what I remember of him, having dealt with him in the past, had already asked the CDC for their expert opinion on what was going on out here in Guam, because it didn't jive with the national trends. Good thing to do. And it took the federal government 3 weeks to get around to it. And so we will be receiving their attention. Despite good news, PDN says, despite good news on COVID-19, protection measures still important. After weeks of bad news relating to COVID-19 on Guam, a surge in positive cases and virus-related deaths, more children getting infected by the coronavirus, a bit of good news emerged Wednesday. We're seeing a downward trend in cases and hospitalizations. The latest surveillance report from the Department of Public Health and Social Services shows a drop in weekly cases of COVID-19 as well as the 7-day average of daily new cases. This downward trend has resulted in a steady decrease in the COVID area risk score. Public Health also reported a downward trend in hospitalizations due to COVID-19 and fewer patients with the virus in intensive care units. Also, more in the 12 to 17-year-old demographic are now vaccinated. But even with all these positive trends, we all need to keep practicing safety measures and take steps to protect ourselves and the entire community from COVID-19. The deadly virus has already sickened and killed far too many on Guam, in the United States, and around the globe. Guam has one of the highest vaccination rates in the U.S., but it could be better. Those not vaccinated should be limited to only those with legitimate medical or religious reasons. More youth ages 12 and up should be vaccinated. And given the increasing rate of Guam children contracting the virus, as vaccines are approved for younger kids, parents need to ensure these children are protected by being vaccinated. And those who are vaccinated and eligible should get their third dose or booster shots. These are important because medical experts have said the effectiveness of COVID vaccines can wane over time. Vaccines are still the best protection against the virus. Yes, you can still contract COVID after getting vaccinated, but those cases are usually less severe and the risk of death is much reduced. And we must all follow the sound safety measures put in place since the beginning of the pandemic. Frequently washing your hands, properly wearing a face mask when out in public, and practicing social distancing. So says the Pacific Daily News. Editorial staff, in their view, can't relax. Despite good news on COVID-19, protection measures still important. It's the same advice as ever. For any contagious disease that's spread by mucus droplets in the air and on shared surfaces, doorknobs, dishes, right? Air being, sneezed into. The difference now is that we have access to treatments that reduce severity of disease. This surge is only beginning to abate. And the operative word is this, as in this surge, because this is the third round. And if the vaccines, as much as they are pushed, are not protecting people except from the most severe outcomes, that's good. That's a really good thing. Because we're not overfilling our hospitals. And also we do have treatments. So that's a difference. We have the treatments. So whether you're vaccinated or not, you can get a treatment that will reduce the severity of disease, enough to keep you out of the hospital. Some people don't know they have it and die before they even make it to the hospital. They think they've got something else. But we're in a surge. And so what protection measures still important is really the top of it's really the most important thing, is to simply practice safe, be safe around other people. So if it is being spread, you're not contracting it. So can't relax. That's the view of the Pacific Daily News editorial staff. Over at the Guam Daily Post today, they've taken their page 1 story, page 8 in the PDN, and put it on page 28 as a very long editorial. So I'm not going to repeat the story. Thank you. I'm not repeating the story, but I will put I will leave enough in so you can hear what it is they're saying without, all the fluff. Guam public health officials, CDC team, we welcome your help in solving Guam's COVID-19 puzzles. It's almost like a game, but it's not a game. Guam public health officials on Thursday confirmed that a team from the Atlanta-based U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is arriving on the island to investigate multiple cases of patients who were dead by the time they were brought to island hospitals and subsequently classified as COVID-19 related fatalities. The CDC's team arrival follows a request by Public Health Director Art St. Augustine in a letter sent earlier this month to CDC Director Dr. Rochelle P. Walensky to send an investigative team to Guam. DPHSS Chief Public Health Officer Chima Bakwem said in a press conference Thursday the CDC team's mission, quote, is to investigate the risk factors of COVID-19 transmission and severe diseases on Guam. And also the primary objective is to conduct the investigation to assess the common characteristics of transmission and disease among those who are classified as dead on arrival. Mbakwem added, the number of severe COVID-19 cases on Guam is high. Mbakwem acknowledged, quote, despite our high vaccination rates. As of this week, the island surpassed a very high vaccination rate of 82% of the island's age-eligible population. I thought it was like 89. And they have 82 here, so I guess we're going to have to go back and check the papers. But they should know.
It's already beyond the threshold. 82, 89.
But that's a big difference.
70. It is, but...
Because 7, from 82, that's 18. 7 is almost half, cutting that difference in... 82. Sorry. 28, it's a quarter. 7 points of difference. Anyway, that's extremely high considering the nation's average is 72% for partial vaccination. But even when our community has predominantly complied with the government of Guam vaccination drive, we continue to see more deaths, and we have seen more vaccinated patients ending up in hospitals. In recent weeks, between a third and a half of our hospitalized COVID-19 patients are people who have been vaccinated. And the number of people who still became infected with the virus that causes COVID-19, even after they were vaccinated, continues to grow, to a total of 3,366 this week. That's an increase from 2,859 reported COVID-19 infections from vaccinated Guam residents as of 2 weeks ago. So what's that? 500 people. The latest data shows an infection rate of 34 COVID-19 cases for every 1,000 vaccinated people on Guam. Still, public health officials have emphasized the need to get vaccinated to reduce the chances of getting severely sick or dying. The arrival of the CDC team will help Guam better understand what's going on in our community and hope more lives can be saved. At a time when the vast majority of Guam residents are vaccinated and adhere to mask mandates, we are still seeing troubling numbers of COVID-19 infections and deaths. Maybe the CDC can also check whether the handling, storage, and administering of the vaccines, shipped thousands of miles to Guam, was all done according to safety standards. That is the Guam Daily Post editorial for Friday, October 22nd. It's on page 28. A very strange way to end. They add a brand new question at the very, 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 very end of the article. Something I've never heard before.
It has nothing to do with anything they just talked about.
You can ship organs for transplant halfway around the world. And they arrive viable. Why would they have a problem shipping vaccines that need to be on dry ice anyway? Dry ice is a common.
I think there was a mix-up, or a mix-up in messaging, because I think on the same day we heard of a potential, I won't say contamination, but degradation, I guess, of the vaccine. And another official came on and said that didn't happen. Or during that press conference last week with the epidemiologist and the other person who's not the epidemiologist. There's two doctors, female doctors, that were on that press conference. And so they did...
There should have been a man there.
That's you. So
I'm just joking.
But they did address that question, and it was said that they don't think anything happened. But, you know, my sisters came out here a couple of weeks ago, and their plane was delayed a bit because they had a shipment of vaccines on their plane on the way here to Guam as well. So they do, you know, it's not just sitting on the tarmac. There is an intention when they ship it out here.
Yeah, the plane, they take off and they look down and go, "Ooh, wasn't that box supposed to be in the plane? No, next tomorrow, they'll get it tomorrow. There's another flight tomorrow."
I told you not to wrap it in styrofoam cooler.
No, but you know, it's just another box of fish, right? The salmon coming from Alaska. No, the initial shipments were specifically flown out here in chartered flights. And then when they got the procedure down exactly so, then they started sending them commercial. But that's why they would hold the plane in order for another plane that would meet it at the airport, the stuff would be transferred plane to plane, zoom, off you go. And then it gets here. Now, how they handle it here is another matter, but, you know, we have to have faith in people being able to do their jobs like, you know, everyone else around here. So I just think it's too odd. It's not because of the number of miles. It's whether people are paying attention to their jobs. Anyway, CDC team, we welcome your help in solving Guam's COVID-19 puzzles. It's really not a puzzle. These are lives. These are sufferings. They're individuals that, if it were not for the privacy of the privacy guidelines on health matters, we'd all know who they are. There'd be lists in the paper saying, "Oh, these are the people all came down sick." You know any of them? You talked to any of them in the last couple of days real close? You've been meeting any of them, on the sly? You know, we're not doing that, and we don't have to do that. That's why we have a public health, to do that contact tracing and all that good stuff. And I'm glad the CDC is sending a team out here, but they don't always... nobody does it for the other person's reason only. They're doing it for their own reason. They want to know what's going on out here. And maybe we have a good, stable place to study. Not just something interesting for the academics, but actually something to contribute to the understanding of how the disease works. In the States, they can't do this. They can't control the population for metabolic diseases because it's a wash. There's too many people coming in and out of the jurisdiction. Here, it's fairly stable. And it's a fairly short amount of time. I'm only talking about since July to now. And CDC is going to have not that many cases to break open, case files. They'll know how to do it. It's just too bad they couldn't just, in an email. And just do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Send us the results. We'll give you some feedback. Because it doesn't really taint the information to look at it. Although there is a theory about that. I'm not signed on yet to Facebook Live. Maybe I'll just wait a few minutes and do that during our next break. On the front page of the PDN today, going back to Zami Ikatni, not particularly impressed by either of those editorials. Thank you very much for writing them, but, I'm not, as you can see, I'm not, busting out, with high fives.
Denied.
Well, yeah, something like that. Yeah, thank you. So, PDN today, top of the page, front page, 103 new COVID cases recorded. What they don't say is positive cases under 10% today. That's what they really, it's the rate that matters, not the numbers. Although you should know that 100 more people are known to be carrying active COVID, walking around, with it, that have been, bagged. But 103 out of 1247 is, I'm not going to do the math, but it's somewhere around 8%. So that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. Because we've been riding, 11 to 13% for weeks. And if it's going down, that's a good thing. Why? We can all conjecture. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people to conjecture about this. So public health awaits CDC guidance. Also on the front page. And Moderna boosters. Nice picture of a nurse, a visiting nurse, giving a shot during a clinic. It's kind of funny. You've got a visiting nurse giving a shot. The caption is Moderna boosters. But if you look at the story by Joe Titano on page 1, that the FDA has approved a booster shot for Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccines. And so the Department of Public Health and Social Services is now waiting, like the rest of the nation is, on further guidance from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It's the CDC that gives the final approval for the boosters, for any emergency use. So they're waiting on their CDC recommendation. And also the question of whether you're going to mix and match them. So it's just too odd. Let's take a break here. It's, about 1/2 the hour. Let's take our first break of the show and come back again with more and your calls at 888-8255.
Contact Express Financial for all your financial needs. Express Financial is consumer lending at its very best. They also have a host of dealer service programs with quick approvals. There are 3 ways to apply. Over the phone at 637-9834. You may visit their office in person at 600 Harmon Loop Road across the street from Costules. Or you can also visit their webpage and apply at myexpressfinancial.com. In most cases, you'll get your money the same day.
Need to finish the job or start one the right way? Get the right stuff at East West Rental Center. You can switch to easy mode using industrial strength equipment. With years of experience helping builders, East West Rental gives you exactly what you need. Tools for landscaping, concrete, lifts, trucks, tables, tents, chairs, water blasters, excavators, forklifts, air compressors, and more. Call East West Rental Center at 646-1463 or visit them in Upper Tumont. Open Monday to Saturday from 7 to 5, Sundays 8 to 5.
And now, back to Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie, the one radio show politicians don't want you to listen to. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255. And now, sitting in for the vacationing Bob Klitzkie, here's Daryl Taggarty.
And welcome back to Tall Tales. I'm Daryl Taggarty. I'm here for Bob Klitzkie, who is off island. He'll be back he'll be back shortly. When he is, we'll all enjoy Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie. In the meantime, I'm here to take your call at 888-8255. I see somebody already knows the number. Didn't even have, well, I guess he remembered from the last time I said it. I've got Bob Kelly on the line. Hi there, Bob. What was this?
Hello. I'm
Hi.
going to catch you up. 5 hours ago, the director of CDC, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, MD, Master of Public Health, endorsed the advisory committee's recommendations so that those who have Pfizer or Moderna now, who are 65 years or older, 18 who live in long care facilities, 18 and above who have underlying medical conditions, or 18 and above in high-risk settings can now get this shot, plus the 15 million who got Johnson & Johnson. That's if you've had it 6 months or longer. And those with the Johnson & Johnson 2 months or longer, all of them are eligible for a second shot because they find that it is waning on its efficacy.
Well, thank you very much for that.
It's already approved by CDC.
Thank you very much.
I think probably tomorrow I could walk in and get a shot because it's now got the CDC stamp of approval.
Well, I was wondering, did they say anything about I got a Pfizer, so can I go get a Moderna?
Well, that was on the recommendation. I don't see that. Let me see here. I'm looking at the news release from CDC. It doesn't say it in the release now. I think you probably can. Personally, after reviewing the options, I've decided to stay with what I already have.
Well, it was found to have waned less.
That's one reason I'm going to stay with it.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I want to go jump to it. Because, anyway,
it's Pfizer?
Yes, from a Pfizer. Because, well, for the same reason I got the Pfizer in the first place. So, I guess, this story is developing.
Well, I would say as far as the approval by CDC, it's not developing anymore because, again, 5 hours ago, the final approval came from the director of CDC.
Yes, but about the mixing and matching.
Yeah, I think we got to weigh pros and cons. I'd say people should probably use the old standby, talk to their physicians or something if they want to mix it or something or get more information. Because I didn't find that much information on the mixing. But anyway, it has been approved, so it's just at this stage, everybody making their appointments to line up and get it. If they want it.
Yeah.
I mean, some people don't even want the first shot. So it'll be interesting to see how many want the booster.
No, I was just wondering whether there would be any people like standing outside the usual vending machines, ready with to test us for magnetism, because that's been going around.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I just wanted to set you straight that it has been approved by the director, so it is good to go.
You know, Bob, I want to thank you for bringing us up to speed on that. I did not know that before I came on the show this afternoon, and so the newspaper didn't know it when they printed last night. Or else it would be on the head. They didn't know.
The newspaper didn't know that at 11 a.m. on Guam time it had been approved.
Nope. That's for tomorrow's paper. Got to have something to print tomorrow. But you did raise an interesting question. I'm going to raise that in a few minutes here.
Okay.
The last time I talked to you, you raised an interesting point. So I want to thank you for that, and I will leave it at that until I get to it. But thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
What I don't understand about the mix and match is they're including the Johnson & Johnson, right, which was the single jab, which is a total different even process of making. You know, the first one is the mRNA, the Moderna and the Pfizer, but the Johnson & Johnson is more the traditional vaccine where they introduce the COVID virus in a weakened state and make the vaccine from there. So how is it that they justify mixing and matching?
You've never been
as a
in the
booster?
military. Neither have I. But you see, you get it in the crossfire. You're coming at the same target from two different directions.
But they're okay with being experimental guinea pigs. It's what they signed up for.
Hey,
but you understand my question, though, right?
You know, the magnets.
But you understand the question, right? It's a total different makeup, so I'm not exactly sure what the justification is for that. The Moderna and the Pfizer on just the mRNA grounds, I can understand, I guess, but Johnson & Johnson is completely different.
That's right, but they are both approaching the task of sensitizing the body to the real, to some feature of the real virus without using the real virus.
Sure, and different drugs can still come up with the same end game, but the way they get there is differently, and that's what I'm talking to.
Except this isn't a drug. It is to sensitize you to some feature of the virus. And if they are sensitizing you to do two different features of the virus, the question really is it that you are approaching the virus from two different, with two different defenses, or are you approaching the virus with one newer defense and one really weakened defense?
So it's not a booster then, it's just a second shot.
It would be a second shot, so that's the question. Would it be a booster, or do I just switch and go along for the ride, check it out? It's like that's right. It's so confusing with all of this stuff that's been going on, all these competing doctors trying to get my attention to tell me which way medicine has gone, all these corkscrew directions over the last 18 months. I just, who do you believe?
Your own doctor.
Yeah, well, actually, she had somebody call me this afternoon, and I appreciated that. It was a wellness call. And you'd like to get one too, wouldn't you? Those are neat. The nurse badgers you until she's satisfied that she's got the answer she needs to be able to get back to the doctor and say, he's okay, or he needs some more attention. Send the ambulance over, or make an appointment, bring him in here, and you can look at him yourself. It's a good way to do medicine.
We're missing a rectal thermometer.
I'm not. I know where my rectal thermometer is.
We're just wondering if you saw it when you left our office today.
I haven't missed it at all. So, what was it I was going to talk about? The other thing. Well, I got this disturbing email this afternoon, and it was calling to my attention that I don't do the card right. I should do more card. Because that's really what we are used to hearing on this show. And so I was thinking, well, I'm not Bob Klitzkie. I'm not a lawyer. I don't think in adversarial terms. I don't think of how to advance my position in the face of clear and determined and skilled opposition. And to look at these things on both sides. I can take an issue, and I can see both sides of it. But I'm always looking for the parts where there is a match. And then what's left as differences are things that you can look at to resolve. But I don't gravitate towards analyzing a confrontation in terms of A versus B. And so it's difficult for me to pose these kinds of questions in the context of a card. And so I'll right up front, I'll apologize for that. because it is a shortcoming of mine. I'm not Bob Klitzkie. I don't have the height. I don't have the weight. I don't have the experience. I've never been in the Marines. I've never been a lawyer. I've never been a director of education. I've never been, in law enforcement. And I don't have that background. And so I don't see things in those adversarial terms. I see lots of adversity, and I see where problems are. And if there's anything that you've heard me get on my horse on about is whether public officials are living up to the job description that justifies paying them, or journalists are up to the task of informing us as the fourth estate. And so, and of course, we can always go around the block on whether academia does a good job of building an informed citizenry. But to take any issue and make it A versus B, it's not in my nature, but I will try harder. I will try harder. For example, I was looking up Michael Bivacqua, an article, and as much as I know that Bob has waxed poetic on the virtues of Michael Bivacqua, when I read Michael Bivacqua's material, I don't get the same impression. And so that's how I know I'm not sort of cut out to do this to build a confrontation, to see where these differences are, because I see where people are going. I can see through their intent, perhaps, and I'm not so much willing to play their game, because I find lots of cynicism and lots of manipulation and partial truths and the throwing around of advantage and flat out bullying that I refuse to participate in. If you think I've been bullying anybody on the air here, please raise your hand and feel free to call up and tell me how, because I'd like to see. Hold that mirror up to me.
I think you just did Daryl versus the card.
Oh, but I'm not trying to do that, because I'm not. No, but I am not contesting the viewpoint. Bob Klitzkie is a master at doing the card, because the way that he thinks, and the way that he is experienced at teasing out the sides and illustrating them for you. And while I go to the issue in the middle and I tease it out, and I don't take the positions of the two sides. So anyway, I was looking at I was looking at a Michael Bivacqua posting, and a video started up, and he said he had as his guest Manny Cruz, and I was thinking, wow, this is really interesting. Manny Cruz, they were just like punching on each other in the paper there last week. So I was watching. I wonder what this is all about, And he says, Manny Cruz is a founder of this a site, a website. It's like, really? Wow, I didn't know he was involved there. It turns out it's a different Manny Cruz. So I'm glad I didn't jump to any conclusions there. No, it's okay. I'm not looking for that. I was wondering, how is it that they got out there and just like started, shadow boxing each other, and then actually they're going to sit down and do a video.
It would be nice if these competing quote unquote columnists, letter writers, do get face to face instead of this back and forth letter writing campaign. And I know that that's been brought up with other entities versus Bob Klitzkie and having a discussion or a dialogue in front of each other. But I find these one-sided, almost like monologues, right?
like mine. Like mine.
Well, no, people can still call in here, right? But the back and forth in the letter writing campaign is kind of.
It's good to have it in public and in the media because, I mean, in the print press, because we can do it every day here, and there it's like this delay, but it's in writing. So what's going to survive?
Because
when
the
the
points are being-
archaeologists,
yeah.
when the archaeologists are digging up our bones 1,000 years from now, they're going to find us sitting there, buried 6 feet down, holding a copy of the PDN. And then they're going to say, oh, what's he reading? Oh, his eyes look like they're tracking at this story right here. That's what's going to survive. The written word is going to survive. It's not the digital word. It's not the electronic word.
There could still be an accounting of it, but I just think that sometimes addressing the person head on, you'd probably understand if there really is a contention, or if there is a mistake, or if there is a misunderstanding, you'd have a better way to solve that other than going back and forth on something that probably are getting wrong altogether.
Do I have time to tell you a little story?
Let's go.
Okay. Some years back, I was the producer for John Anderson, the late John Anderson, down at K57. So I was the producer after Carlotta and before Bob Gaith. And John was on in the morning, and Jeff Evans was on in the afternoon. And John was, sartorial. He was, he had his own agenda, but the way he played it was it was as even-handed as he could manage to be. And I thought sometimes he was pulling punches, and I thought sometimes the positions he was taking on the air were a bit watered down, but that was fine because that was key to his ability to stay in that game as long as he did, and to be on top of the game as far as talk radio was here on Guam. Jeff Evan, on the other hand, was an early adherent to the style of Rush Limbaugh. And he would just throw rocks, verbal rocks, on just anything. He wasn't getting phone calls, but he would, like me sometimes, just go off on a subject. And he would name names. And he would be pretty rough. He latched on to Angel Santos. And this is when Angel was an activist. And so every time Angel said anything, Jeff just reacted. And he went on all afternoon reacting. So there was I was in the studio. It was like 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning. I was getting ready to leave, and the phone rang, and the caller said, and this is in the office, can somebody from the news department come down to this press conference that we're having at Chief Kapua? Angel Santos is going to make a statement and make some kind of an announcement, and we'd like to have somebody from K57 there. And I said, well, there's nobody in the newsroom right now, but I'll make sure that the word gets passed through. And this is, at the time, this must have been around 92. Because cell phones were just coming out. Everyone had pagers, but cell phones were just coming out. And the first people to get the cell phones were people like John Anderson and Jeff Evan. So he had one, and let's see, who was the anyway, I'm trying to remember who else was in the newsroom, but nobody was there at the time. So I wrote a note, and then just as I was leaving, Jeff walked in. And I said, Jeff, you're available during lunchtime. There's nobody here. Why don't you run over there and cover it? You've got a cell phone. By the time you go there and set up, you could hold your cell phone up to the speaker, and the people back in the newsroom, you call them up and tell them to record, and they'll just record it, and then they can cut it up and use it for the news. And he goes, I can't go over there. I said, why not? He goes, because they'll kick my ass. I said, no, don't worry about it. They'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be perfectly safe. He goes, no, I can't do that. I said, you know what? You should go do that. You really should go do that. He goes, well, what happens if I run into Angel Santos after all those things I've been saying about him? I said, why don't you stick your hand out and say, hi, I'm Jeff Evan. Well, how about trying that, Jeff? I said, Jeff, how about trying to get Angel Santos to come on your show? And you talk to him man to man in front of the whole island. Ask him. He goes, oh, no, he wouldn't. I've been talking crap about him for months. I said, ask him. Man to man, to his face, not as a challenge, as an invitation. Give him a chance to tell his side of the story. You've been monologuing for months. How about ask him to come in here, explain himself in front of everybody? Really? Really? You think so? I said, yeah, try it. And if you want to blame anybody for going south, blame me. If I'm not calling this right, just tell him it was me. It's a bad idea. So anyway, he did. He went there. He got the news department to take the call. They recorded the statement live. They used it for the news. Angel saw him, walked right over to him, and Angel stuck his hand out and said, hi, I'm Angel Santos. And Jeff said, hi, I'm Jeff Evan. Would you like to come on my show this afternoon? And Angel said, I'd like that very much, sir. And they said, okay, so please come over at this time and I'll get you ready with, to get you comfortable in the studio, and then we'll just go ahead and get started. And then he left. So had his lunch and then went to the studio. And that afternoon show, I hope somewhere there's a tape of that show, because the whole island was listening. It was a great show. And at the end of the show, at 6 o'clock, just before 6 o'clock, Jeff Evan declared in front of everybody that this man has made a believer out of me. From this day on, I support this man and what he says. John Anderson was so mad at me the next morning, I thought he was going to kick me in the nuts. 5 in the morning. He was... Oh, better take a break.
That was 3.
Okay, we'll be back after this with more Tall Tales.
Listen to The Point anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Find your favorite stations like The Point and discover more. Music stations, local and trusted news sources, sports talk and team coverage, plus today's biggest podcasts. Find it all on the Odyssey app. AUDACY.
Come try Guam's original Chamorro restaurant with Pica's Best 5 years running. Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro. Experience Chef Peter's candied salmon over scallion coconut rice, octopus to naktak, Chamorro platter, and their award-winning gourmet hamburgers. Or if you're looking for something healthy, try their keto-friendly menu. Come and enjoy Mezcla's half-a-day service at their Hagåtña and Grand Plaza Tumon location. Call their Hagåtña location at 479-2652 for reservations.
And welcome back to Tall Tales. I'm Daryl Taggarty, sitting in for Bob Klitzkie. And how'd you like that tall tale? As long as we're telling tall tales around here, and I'm not tall enough to tell them, like Bob does. But as long as that's how it's going, well, you can call at 888-8255. Just taking a look at some of the comments on Facebook, I've got Colin saying, "Pick your poison. It's the money that matters." And then he asks, do you think you may be being judgmental? I think he's talking about the choice of vaccine. Well, I don't mind being judgmental about the choice of vaccine because it's my body I'm putting it into. Just like you. I'm not being judgmental about which one you're going to put in your body. I actually apply the same principles to myself as I do to others. And I kind of wish more people would do just that. And so, I'm being judgmental and openly opinionated. I can do that. There was an editorial yesterday in the Guam Daily Post I didn't get around to. Efforts to revive tourism are crucial, need support, and a letter to the editor by former Senator Jesse Lujan. And he goes through, it's a really good summary of sort of what our tourism industry has gone through. But what I've also found here is that over the course of the past week, there have been a number of letters to the editor concerning why the government of Guam should be putting out more money to support the businesses on Guam that are struggling through this time. And you look outside, and it looks almost like the traffic is almost back to normal. The kids are back in school, not all the time, but mostly, and the restaurants are open to like 80% or 89% of the people who are the customer base. And so we're pretty close to being back to normal. But there's this very concerted push for the government to flush $75 million here, $25 million there, into the local businesses. I have some questions about that. How long will this go on? Should the government be ready to put $300 million into the tourism industry as it existed 2 years ago? But the most important thing is, should the government be ensuring that past investments are profitable, or should it be ensuring that future investments are profitable? Is the government of Guam, are the people of Guam in a position, it's okay if it's with federal money, you can just go toss it around anywhere you want, but do we want to invest in our future, or do we want to make sure that people who invested in the past feel good about it all? Especially going into next election, right? So I call that into question, because it seems that if the government is investing in businesses, then the government should actually have a say in how that business is run for the people. Now you can say, no, that's like socialism. Those are social needs. I said, yeah, like jobs. Because the businesses themselves say, we are the job creators. And that's true. Lots of thousands and thousands of people are not working now because the places that they worked at, are closed. And that is why tourism needs to be supported. But how do we support it in order to get the best bang for the buck? And we'll talk about this after the break, which is coming up to 5 o'clock. And not only are we going to talk about tourism, we're going to talk about what happened down at the legislature, why they can't read. Stay tuned. It's 5 o'clock, time for Fox News at 5 and our halftime show music, and your calls at 888-8255.
The Point is KUSG, Hagåtña, Guam, 93.3 FM and 104.3 HD3.
Defending the vaccine mandates, I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. President Biden says they're working and telling a CNN town hall meeting what concerns him about the pandemic.
Those who just try to make this a political issue, freedom. I have the freedom to kill you with my COVID. No, I mean, come on.
The president blamed higher gas prices on OPEC nations withholding supplies and predicted they'll start coming down after the new year. He's also confident the Democrat congressional negotiators will find a compromise to pass his social spending plan and infrastructure bills. Attorney General Merrick Garland grilled by GOP congressmen during a Thursday hearing of the House Judiciary Committee about his memo to the FBI to aggressively investigate threats of violence against school board members. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan telling him,
I don't think the good people of this great country are going to cower and hide. I think your memo, Mr. Attorney General, was the last straw. I think it was the catalyst for a great awakening that is just getting started.
A parents group now says emails obtained under the Freedom of Information Act show the White House helped in drafting the letter from the National Association of School Boards that led to Garland's order. The Centers for Disease Control approving coronavirus booster shots for the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson coronavirus vaccines. It's been a fatal shooting on the set of the movie Rust in New Mexico.
A spokesperson for Rust Movie Productions tells Deadline the incident on set was an accident involving the misfire of a prop gun. Production on set was halted as cast and crew left the lot. It's unclear when that may resume. Deputies tell us at this time no charges have been filed.
Reporter Jamie Seymour with Fox Albuquerque affiliate KQRE, who reports the film's cinematographer was killed after Alec Baldwin was holding the prop gun when it misfired. America is listening to Fox News.
It's back on. Mark it down. October 30th, Michelob Ultra presents the GSPN Imas Met Good competition. Guam's strongest man and woman will be determined at the Paseo ground. Come, watch our island's strongest compete in the Triple J truck pull, the Paradise Fitness log lift, CTV and Pacific tire flip, the ITNE wheelbarrow course, Guam Army National Guard warrior walk, and the Isla Imports mini truck lift. There'll be a beer garden and food truck, so leave your chow and drinks at home. They're not allowed at this free event. Who will be Guam's strongest man and woman? Find out Saturday, October 30th.
When's the last time you looked at your homeowner's insurance?
An easily overlooked part of covering our home is what's inside of it. Over time, we buy things we don't want to lose, but don't update our contents coverage. The smart thing to do is get the answers and level up our insurance to make sure we're totally protected.
That's the Insurance Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today by calling Guahan Insurance Services at 475-1162 or visit us at the Camacho Landmark Center in Tamuning.
The Golden State wants to further limit fossil fuel production.
California's oil and gas regulator wants a bigger buffer between oil wells and communities, proposing a state ban on new oil drilling within 3,200 feet of schools, homes, hospitals, and other facilities, arguing it's needed to protect public health. It's also in line with Governor Gavin Newsom's effort to wind down oil production in California as part of climate initiatives.
We are living in a state that is burning up, in a state that is heating up, in a state where millions and millions of Californians are choking up.
The buffer zone would be the biggest in the nation. The Western States Petroleum Association says it doesn't oppose local setbacks, but does object to a statewide rule, calling the proposal an activist assault. Lisa Brady, Fox News.
The FBI confirms they've confirmed that Brian Laundrie is dead.
The agency says it used dental records to make a positive identification. Laundrie, who was a person of interest in the disappearance of his girlfriend Gabby Petito, was the subject of a massive manhunt following her death. He disappeared in September, 2 weeks after he showed up alone at his parents' home in Northport, Florida. Less than a week after, Laundrie went missing. The body of Gabby Petito was found at a Wyoming National Park where the pair had been on a cross-country trip.
Fox's Matt Finn reports the Laundrie family, through its attorney, says they'll have no statement, and they're asking for privacy. Former Trump White House advisor Steve Bannon has been found in contempt of Congress for refusing to obey a subpoena from the House January 6th committee. The Justice Department will consider criminal charges that could put Bannon in jail for up to a year. The boss of a notorious Haitian gang, accused of kidnapping 17 members of an Ohio-based missionary group last weekend, is now warning the hostages will be killed if his demands aren't met. He's asking $1 million each ransom for the hostages, to include at least 3 children. I'm Jack Callahan. This is Fox News.
Come try Guam's original Chamorro restaurant with Pica's Best 5 years running. Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro. Experience Chef Peter's candied salmon over scallion coconut rice, octopus to naktak, Chamorro platter, and their award-winning gourmet hamburgers. Or if you're looking for something healthy, try their keto-friendly menu. Come and enjoy Mezcla's half-a-day service at their Hagåtña and Grand Plaza Tuman location. Call their Hagåtña location at 479-2652 for reservations.
Choosing health insurance for my family is difficult. I need to know our health insurance will protect us now and in the future. Take Care members have access to the island's largest offering of free fitness classes and health education programs, and a high-quality credentialed network of on- and off-island healthcare providers, including the convenient one-stop FHP Health Center and urgent care. My family choose Take Care. Your family should also consider choosing Take Care. Call 671-647-3526 for more information. Take Care, our island, your health plan.
There's so much that's new with the Eat Fresh, Refresh at Subway restaurants that we can't possibly fit it all into one radio spot, but I'm gonna try. There are amazing new toppings like hickory smoked bacon, bacon, and smashed avocado. Try your favorite sub on the new breads like the hearty multigrain wheat or the artisan Italian white bread. Not to mention Subway's thicker, juicier steak. That's all I have time for. You gotta refresh to be fresh. Only at Subway.
Guam Auto Spot has the best selection in Buick, GMC, Mitsubishi, and used cars like the 2021 Mitsubishi Mirage starting at $127 per paycheck. Zero down. Call 671-478-AUTO to take a test drive or get pre-approved online at GuamAutospot.com.
Welcome back to Tall Tales. I'm Daryl Taggarty, sitting in for Bob Klitzkie this afternoon while he's on vacation. Here waiting for your call at 888-8255. Something's on your mind, let us know, and let us know what you think about it, and give everyone else a chance to think about it too. Before the news, we were talking about a number of different things. In part, the effort to pry money out of the government of Guam in support of business. You've seen some of the reports of Guam businesses getting very large amounts of money, relief money, from the SBA. And that's according to the SBA's program. But not all the businesses on Guam are participating in, eligible for SBA assistance. And so they're not part of that kind of a pool of relief money to keep businesses in the United States going until the pandemic is over. And of course, if it was up to us, we would simply say it's over and open up the airport. But the numbers of positives and the numbers of people we would have to put back to work and the high positive rate, so the likelihood of folks getting, spreading the disease would really go up if we simply, if we could get flights in bringing us tourists. And we can say we would prefer to go ahead and take that chance. There are others in a position of power who can say, no, we're going to put a designation on you so you can't do things like that. People are not going to visit you if we say that you are a dangerous destination. We can't even go to Saipan. But the point I was raising earlier is we had great letter to the Guam Daily Post yesterday on page 25 by former Senator Jesse Lujan. A very good summary of our largest employment sector. And then there was a column by Dave Tidinko in the PDN on October 11th. There was a column by Guam Hotel Restaurant Association Administrator Mary Rhodes on October 10th. GHRA Support Tourism Businesses and Monte Mesa wrote a letter to the PDN also on the 10th called Protei Linat Lata. And then Eric Untalan was in the PDN on the 19th concerning the Chamber of Commerce and saying, it is looking out for its members. It's a thriving group. And yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I don't wish anything but success for all of these investors and the people who are taking chances with their time and money to make a living, not in a way that's in any way connected to government. But to me, the point is, it's not about making existing businesses survive. It's about having businesses and skills to compete with other destinations. The tourism industry. Former Governor Carl Gutierrez knows this really well, which is why he's working double time, triple time, trying to drum up business and talk up the island. And his appointment to GVB is a real bright spot, in my opinion, of this administration. We've got a real top-notch drum beater representing Guam to these regional governments and trade associations to push for patrons for our businesses. And so we have investors, but do we support past investors? And I'm talking about we the people. If we're going to take money from the relief money, do we funnel money to the economy through the businesses? Or do we funnel money to the economy through the consumers, the people who would be working but they're not working? And there's different strategies here. And the government is as long as the government's the one that's got to make that decision, then we're involved in that decision. So when a business person lays down the money, puts out a business plan, and puts down their money to work that plan, it's a bet. It's a skillful bet. And sometimes it's bad luck. And COVID certainly qualifies as a super bad luck. So the question is, does the government spend money on covering bad bets? Or do they facilitate new investment? Maybe, say, okay, here's the money to the very same people, but you invest it forward. You don't restore your bottom line from last year. You don't pay yourself off for having lost, and now you're at zero, and now you can't go forward without another bit of money from us, because we don't know how long this is going to last. Do we keep skilled employees, or let them drift off to other markets? Are people who work in the tourism industry leaving Guam to go work someplace else? Or are they sitting home now that there's unemployment, but now that unemployment has stopped? Are they waiting to be called back in? Or are they taking a look at some other places where they may want to go and find a job in other markets? Do we try to get back what we had? 1.6 million tourists a year. Or in the words of Biden, build back better. I'm concerned that the COVID relief funds are being used to reduce losses without coherent island-wide planning for the future. That's my concern. If the central government is being called on to save an industry, then should the government cushion the blow without strings or take advantage of its partnership position to impose public benefit requirements as a condition of funding? We've called upon businesses to do what the government couldn't afford to, like beautifying Tumon, cleaning our roadsides. We even have military guests cleaning our house. Can we finally build a competitive destination? Yes, complete with attractions. And not government attractions, privately run attractions. If profits are going to accrue to the investors, is GovGuam expected to invest but not expect a return? Tourism is the proximate employer of tens of thousands of Guamanians, now idle, resident, skilled workers. Can we support their continued employment but also require that they improve their skills while at the workplace being paid? How about giving the money to businesses to say, okay, bring your employees back, but you bring them back in to train. Since you don't have customers, they're in training every day to improve their skills. Suppose you cross-train them or have them learn languages. Watch videos and participate in discussions about how tourism is succeeding elsewhere. Know your competition. I'm just tossing this out. The government has to advocate for people because the businesses are advocating for themselves. And I wouldn't have it any other way. But when the businesses start asking the government to help their bottom line, and it's time for the government to start asking the businesses how this is all going to work out down the road in the future, and not just be let me help you pay make sure that you stay healthy. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with this. I'd like to see more transparency in this regard, as long as the government is being called on to fund businesses. I'd like to see more specifics about how tourism will look in future years as a result of this funding. And anyone who says we don't know, well, they've never drafted a business plan, have they? And not that I want the business plans to be revealed, but the government should have an idea of where it's going with its 75, 150, whatever million. Oh, 150 million, that's right. It's almost 20 minutes after 5. And we haven't spoken yet about the $150 million question. Do you know what that question is, Jose?
No idea.
Is anybody, let's see. Does Colin know? Does Ishmael know? The $150 million question. How in the world did the legislature pass a law and not know what was in it? And then how did the governor sign a law? Yeah. Oh, it's right here. It's on the top of the Guam Daily Post today. Error in new war claims law could cost $150 million. Well, how could that be?
Political bill?
Wasn't there a fiscal note? What happened to the fiscal note? Did they have a fiscal note attached to it?
Campaign legislature?
How many ways can you say sleight of hand?
War claim bill? Yeah, I'll sign it.
I thought that this is what it meant at the beginning. I thought that that's what they knew they were passing.
Which aide is going to get fired?
Why should they hang any aide up from the nearest lamppost?
Because none of them make mistakes. It must have been an aide. What happened, Daryl? You thought about that, huh?
I thought about that. No, you see, how could the governor sign the bill and not know what was in it? Doesn't she have readers? Oh, the phone rings. How could the speaker sign the transmittal letter attesting to the accuracy, to the fact that that bill had been passed by the legislature without anyone in the speaker's office having read what was attached to the cover letter? Because until it was transmitted, it was fixable. If in fact an error was made. And I know that Bob Klitzkie, in his experience as a senator, would have, and a lawyer, would know. Think about that for a moment. Right now, I've got an interesting person on the line calling in, talking about business stimulus. Jay Merrill, welcome to Tall Tales.
Well, thank you, Daryl. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah. Doesn't happen often enough.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't happen often enough. But I wanted to talk to you about what you were just talking about in the prior segment.
Yeah.
Having to do with the governor's efforts to try and stimulate local businesses.
Well, was it really to stimulate, or was it to make good on last year's bottom line?
No, it's really designed in order to preserve employment. And so you have a lot of small businesses that have been hanging on. They've continued to maintain their status with rev and tax, and the tourism industry isn't opening up yet.
Okay.
It is going to open. It's going to open later in 2022. But if they're not ready to open by the time visitors come back, then we're not going to be able to provide the experience that really defines what Guam is. So this provides an opportunity for tourism businesses, in particular, because they've been the most hurt, to make it through that period so that when tourism comes back, we have the tour operators, we've got the transportation companies, we've got the service providers, the restaurants, and everyone else that's involved in creating the experience ready to be competitive. Right now, all across Southeast Asia and across all of Guam's competing markets, work is going on now to prepare for when both China and ours is less that, but more Korea and Japan have reached the level of vaccination rates so that tourism becomes viable. And so this effort is really one to help these companies hang on, help them hire back the people that they've had to lay off because there was no business, and to create an opportunity for Guam to come out of the gates faster and stronger than other competing companies. If they all were allowed to die, if they all were simply washed out because of COVID-19, then the period of time necessary for Guam to generate the kind of attraction that is going to be necessary to be competitive is just going to be elongated. So that means that tax revenue is going to be cut off. It's going to be slowed. It's going to mean that jobs are going to be slowed in terms of their resurgence. And so at the end of the day, we're going to be ending up in a much worse economic situation than if we were to take the money from AARP to dedicate towards the resurgence of probably the most reliable and most potent economic development force Guam has ever known, and at the same time provide a means to help. When you look at it, Daryl, the tourism industry, you may be surprised by this, but over 88% of their businesses in the tourism industry have fewer than 20 employees. And 75% of those are owned by local people. So what we're looking at trying to do is preserve Guam's participation. And when I say Guam, people that live here, that have made their home here, that are Chamorro, are Carolinian, are Micronesian, are all of the Filipino and all of the various ethnicities that make up our cosmopolitan community that have made Guam their home, to allow them to get back in the game, to get back to where they were, so that we can recreate the success that we had in 2019. So I think this is a great program.
Can you tell me more about the program rather than its virtues? About the nuts and bolts of the program, because there's two ways to do it. You can just say, here's the money. You just tell me what's the difference between what your expected revenues are and were and what they actually were, and then we'll just make up the difference. Is the government expected to fill in the economy, or is it giving?
No.
How is it? What's the nuts and bolts of this?
The way it works is that you compare 2019 to 2020, and you look at what the decline is. And so businesses that received 70, 50, and 25% declines all would be considered in order, so that those that were hurt the most would be helped first. And 60% of the proceeds that they receive have to go to reestablishing employment and undergirding their employment profile. The balance of it can go to paying things like rents. It can go to things like paying utility bills. It can go to things that otherwise might be lost forever unless there was some means by which these businesses could actually get some assistance. And then on top of that, what the program is designed to do is to provide a means by which we can assess who in the community has been most hurt and be able to define economic development programs based on those that apply, that most meet the needs necessary for the visitor industry to regenerate.
I like the explanation. I hope this is how it's administered, because we know that we have to have an industry ready to greet people as they get off the plane, whenever that is. We know that we need to have that. People need to be ready. And the way the program works, I haven't seen an explanation, and that's why I had to ask you.
Well, I think it's because that there was a impetus by the governor to do this. GIDA has been identified as the administrating authority, and they've been going through stakeholder meetings over the last day or so. There's more next week. And that the legislature is going to be providing a companion bill which will additionally add to what the governor's contribution is, and that's going to have a public hearing on November 1. And so during that process, there's going to be plenty of transparency, but the entire gist of the program is what I just described.
I think it's a great explanation that you just gave us. Thank you. I hope to see this happen, because we need to know. But I was wondering how it is that we would, say, accommodate restaurants that are open for business that are still being patronized by people here on island, and then take another category of businesses that are really hurting, and that would be the B&Bs, all the people who invested in rental units, and there's nobody coming in to rent them. They're like basically a dispersed hotel industry, and those units are all quiet.
Yeah, so this is designed to assist businesses that have maintained their business license, continued to file GRTs with an expressed intent that they're going to still be in business. And it doesn't only limit itself to the tourism industry. It's available to everybody that has exhibited these levels of loss. So the objective is to try and fill in the gaps that what was done by the federal government and by the local government through GITA, because we discovered, and we conducted a survey in 2020 on behalf of the governor to look at what the impact on business was. And there were many businesses that simply failed to apply that would have been eligible because they didn't understand it. There might have been language barriers. May have been other things that prevented them from taking advantage of the program, but nonetheless fill an important void in terms of providing services to Korean visitors, providing services to Japanese or the Chinese, Taiwanese visitors that might be here. Mm-hmm. So this program is one that hopefully will pick up that group, identify those that are most in need, and create targeted assistance so that they preserve employment, but then help them pay off their other business expenses that are creating pressure on the balance of the business community.
Are you going to be looking at the types of expenses that need to be paid locally so the money circulates on Guam and doesn't just go off?
No, it's all designed. It has to be spent on either payroll, which would be local. It has to be payroll locally, local employees, rents locally, utilities locally, things of other legitimate business expenses like insurance necessary for the business to stay open, and other expenses, including those that are directly related to COVID.
Well, good. How much do you think that this is going to cost? I know we haven't had the hearings yet, but is there an estimate about how much? And I know we've got plenty of money to use, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't been so concerned about how much money the governor is holding back, because we really have no idea how long this is going to last, and the PUA just finished. So how much do you think that is going to be, at least for the foreseeable future, is going to be dedicated to this program?
Well, at the moment, the governor has, I think, identified, and Daryl, I don't know if you know, but I'm not a Democrat, but the governor has identified this as an investment. And at the moment, there's $50 million in the program that's been identified both by the legislature and the governor.
Well, it should be considered an investment, because then you'll be looking at it differently than simply, trying to prop up businesses. No,
this is definitely an investment so that we're prepared for the reopening of our visitor industry.
Well, Jay, I don't think I've ever stopped to think about whether you were a Democrat or Republican, because every time you shoot your shot, it's straight and for the right reasons, and you're not pulling one way or the other. It's just whether the two sides want to listen. So I'm glad you added that in there, but it really matters not at all. So I want to thank you very much for the call and for letting us, giving us a bit of a window into what's coming up to be explained more at length in the public hearings and the legislation to come. So thank you very much for the call this afternoon.
Well, thanks, Daryl. I appreciate it. Thank you.
There's Jay Merrill, and he's talking about. I guess this is the kind of government activity that is needed to sustain an economy, and the economy being all of us, not just the businesses and the business side, but route it through the businesses so people themselves can, and other systems here locally are going to stay afloat until the surge is over and until the planes start flying in full of people and we start renting cars and welcoming people into restaurants and opening stores and the like. So let's take that 5:30 break. It's 5:34, and we'll be back right after this with more of your calls and more Tall Tales.
Listen to The Point anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music,
news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Find your favorite stations like The Point and discover more. Music stations, local and trusted news sources, sports talk and team coverage, plus today's biggest podcasts. Find it all on the Odyssey app. AUDACY.
Everyone has a busy schedule these days, and sometimes we forget to schedule our routine dental checkup and cleaning. Don't neglect your dental health. Schedule one today with Dr. Robert Yang and his Smile team, conveniently located at the East West Business Center on Marine Drive, Upper Tumon. Call us today at 647-8702 or 3. Again, that's 647-8702 or 647-8703. We make smiles happen.
Welcome back to Tall Tales. I'm Daryl Taggarty, sitting in for Bob Klitzkie, who is on vacation. Thank you very much for tuning in this afternoon. I've got another Joe on the line who wants to talk about GVB tourism and real results. Welcome back to the show, another Joe.
Hey there, Mr. Taggarty. Yeah, so I think yesterday you were saying that our educators are paid the big bucks to make the right decisions. And so I would say that all of our government servants, public servants, are paid the big bucks to make the right decisions, which would include GIDA and GVB. So the question is, it's been almost 2 years. Have they earned their paychecks? Daryl, what do you think?
Wow, that's quite a. Thank you very much for putting that question to me.
That's great, then. Thank you for it.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll keep listening.
And yeah, thank you. I appreciate that question. And the proof is kind of in the pudding. Not that they have to produce the economy, because the businesses produce the economy. The businesses offering something that is something that people will spend money on is the economy. It's not the government. GVB and GIDA facilitate businesses. And what other agency on Guam, in the government of Guam, facilitates business? Partners with business, helps organize business into sectors and promotes sectoral growth? Only GIDA and you can say agriculture and having tax, but they administer government programs. In GIDA and at GVB, they facilitate private and aggregate private activity and promote it and try to amplify it. Those functions are necessary. And whether they've earned their money or not, a lot of work gets done in those two agencies. A lot. Sometimes I have a beef about whether we're supporting the industry well enough. When we talk about not striping the roads or cleaning the bathrooms at the parks. And that's not GVB or GIDA. It shouldn't be. It should be the government of Guam striping the roads and cleaning the bathrooms in the parks. Because those two services help all residents, all visitors, the military. And it is actually part and parcel of what it is they're supposed to be doing. They've already agreed to do these things. And so you'll hear me rail about how well an agency is doing and whether they're earning their money. But at GVB and GIDA, I'd say it's a very good investment of government funds to those two functions. And by and large, I think GITA is funded out of the fees and the activities that are routed through it. Their administrative costs are captured in the admin set-asides from the activities that they're involved in, whether it's base closings or bond issuance or whatever they're involved in. The specialists who work at GITA, their salaries are taken from the normal admin costs that are attached to those functions in like issuing a bond. And so they don't cost us anything. GITA doesn't cost the taxpayers of Guam anything. And GVB, it was decided years ago that there would be a hotel occupancy tax and it would go to the promotion of tourism. And so that has been what we know of as a GVB. Now, there can be some discussion about whether some of that money should go to cleaning the parks, developing parks, cleaning roadsides, building attractions. But GVB has made the case over the years that we need to have marketing programs in our source markets. And what has that gotten us? It's gotten us to 1.6 million tourists a year. Discounting COVID, because COVID just came in out of the, flew on the wings of a bat out of Wuhan. It's just like one of those things. Who knew it was going to happen? It's not, it happened at Chinese New Year, the year of the rat. It's just like, we all got rat bit. So just, what did we do deliberately at GVB? We're doing it really well, deliberately. And that cannot be replicated in the rest of the government of Guam. They're not run the same way. You can't take the lessons learned at GVB and apply it to Parks and Rec. They're just two different agencies. So we hold accountable the administration at Parks and Rec and at Mass Transit and at Public Works and at Public Health and at the hospital, at agriculture, because those are agencies that have a defined mission, a reason for being, and how well do they do their jobs? DOE, $248 million a year, 28,000 students, and $250 million a year. Not enough. Well, what else do we spend $248 million on a year? And get, and what would we get out of it? And those are the kinds of things I rail on. And so I'm kind of untangling that ball of string. Since you posed that question to me, another Joe, it's just one of those things. So thank you for the call. Again, 888-8255 is our telephone number here at the station. A while back, I was talking about this error in the new War Claims Act law could cost $150 million. So what happened? The version transmitted to the governor included a requirement to plan for a new local war claims program that benefits claimants regardless of the date of death. And the speaker comes up and says, oh, wait a minute. I had proposed that, but it was voted down. It was ruled out of order by Senator St. Augustine because originally the bill was supposed to only allow claimants who were eligible at the time when the federal government said that they would be eligible for the federal government to recognize their claims, 2016. If they were alive up to the point of 2016, well then that was when Gov Guam would make good on those claims. which is really ridiculous, because if Guam is going to make good on the claims against the United States, why didn't we do it back in the 70s or 80s, when it really would have mattered? When it wouldn't have mattered at all, in fact, because it wasn't the government of Guam that we wanted the war reparations from. The claims were not against the government of Guam. And they were not really even against the United States government. It's just the United States government said that it would be the respondent, and that the people of Guam, no Americans, could claim against the government of Japan, because that was part of the treaty, that the U.S. would assume all responsibility for claims arising from World War II. And that's how you make peace. And we'd much rather have peace. That was the purpose of peace, making peace. And that was a mistake that they didn't learn after World War I. So it was learned after World War II, and it was done that way. And it kept getting... And there was a program after World War II, and Bob's been very... He's explained it several times here on Tall Tales. But the legislature, in its eagerness to I don't know if I want to characterize it in such a mean way, but they didn't really intend to make good everyone who could have made claims. They only wanted to recognize those who were eligible under the federal approval. And now they found that the bill that they sent was materially different. Oh, her amendment to make it apply to everyone was deemed materially different, which it certainly was. And procedurally, it was blocked during debate on the measure. However, the defeated amendment was part of the bill when the senators passed it days later. That's in third reading. The text was in the third reading file. How did that version go forward? That's why they call it a reading. You read it. You have a first reading was when you file the bill and everyone gets a chance to read it. Second reading is when they debate it on the floor. And when it's done debating it on the floor, they vote to put it in the third reading file. The third reading file. So don't tell me you didn't read it, because it's the reading file. You read it. And as long as they sit there deliberating, thinking about what vote they're going to have, they have that folder in front of them with all the bills in it. That by the procedures of the legislature, those bills must be in their final form, perfect, in front of them, every single one of them before they vote. There's no debate in third reading. It's a vote. And anyone could just go up and say, no, I'm not voting for this because of what's in there. They could walk outside and talk to the press and go, I can't vote for that because it's got stuff in there that we didn't even agree to. You're going to blame it on a staffer? The senators are sure quick to take credit for stuff that their staff do in their name. But they sure want to hide from blame when the staff does something and none of them pick it up. Maybe we shouldn't have 15 senators, we should have 21. We need more eyes on this stuff, especially if they're going to make $150 million mistakes. Jose, remind me to put that as one of the arguments for 21-member legislature. It's been a while since I talked about that. Some lawmakers on Friday are going to push for what's essentially a redo. Several Republican senators will push for a reconsideration of the engrossed bill to be retransmitted to the governor as passed on the floor, Senator Chris Duenas said on Thursday evening. We believe this bill was improperly engrossed, and we should be able to pull it back, correct it, and send it to the governor as passed on the floor. It has nothing to do with the merits of possibly paying descendants beyond the original intent of the bill. It's about proper passage of bills on the floor. This clerical error should not be the reason why the people of Guam have to pay up to $150 million of taxpayer money for this program. This should be properly debated and allow for all the people of Guam to participate in this process. Something of this significance should not pass on the basis of a clerical error. I think that clerical error was the error of the 13 senators present, because they voted on what was physically in front of them. And then, and even after that, the Speaker signed a transmittal letter with the official copy attached. And if it's a clerical error, then they should really be looking at what kind of budget they're spending on clerks. It's 5:51. Let's take a break here, and we'll come back with more to wrap up today's Tall Tales.
It's back on. Mark it down. October 30, Michelob Ultra presents the GSPN Imas Met Good competition. Guam's strongest man and woman will be determined at the Paseo ground. Come, watch our island's strongest compete in the Triple J truck pull, the Paradise Fitness log lift, CTV and Pacific Tire flip, the ITNE wheelbarrow course, Guam Army National Guard warrior walk, and the Isla Imports mini truck lift. There'll be a beer garden and food truck, so leave your chow and drinks at home. They're not allowed at this free event. Who will be Guam's strongest man and woman? Find out Saturday, October 30th.
You know all those amazing photos and videos saved on your camera roll capturing your love for Guam? We want to see it. Log on to visitguam.com/Instagram to submit your best moments for a chance to win weekly prizes. The Guam Visitors Bureau will choose a weekly winner, so share your love for our island paradise now and win. Brought to you by GVB. Thank you for making Guam a better place to live, work, and visit.
Welcome back to Tall Tales. I'm Darrell Taggarty. We've got about 7 minutes left in today's show. Time to get one more call in at 888-8255. And while I'm waiting, let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit more. Talking about the $150 million error, clerical error. Senator Talo Taitagui told the Guam Daily Post she brought the mistake to the attention of the Speaker when she heard about the expansion being talked about on live local radio. They heard it on the radio. Wow. It's a good thing she was listening to the radio. Somebody
that's
read the bill.
That's fourth reading.
That's fourth reading. But they read it on the radio, and the senators heard it from the radio after the governor signed the bill, because Tello had supported the expansion during the discussion of the bill. It wasn't supposed to be there, but it clearly is, and that means it's clearly the law. Vice Speaker Tina Munya Barnes, who authored the legislation but was off island during its passage, told the Post she, too, thinks the mistake became statute. Quote, I've always believed that every war survivor, she's just talking about what she wanted to have happen anyway, okay, should be paid, and that there could be no limits on justice. For that reason, I will work with the governor and my colleagues to do everything possible to ensure that this long-standing debt is paid quickly and responsibly. Any changes to the expansion will have to be approved by at least 8 senators. So the Republicans are coming out. Several Republican senators, Chris Duenas, legislative minority leader, said Thursday evening. So we got the senators, the Republican senators advocating to act responsibly, but they still need 8 votes to call back that bill. Are they going to be able to do that? The governor on Thursday committed to submitting a plan to senators that resolves claims of eligible residents who failed to meet the filing deadlines for the now closed federal program, even if this new law has deficiencies. So now the governor is saying she knows what the intent of the original bill was, and she's going to get that going. I have consistently demonstrated my unwavering support for our war survivors in the past and will continue to do so moving forward, the governor stated. Now, what does that mean? It means she was aware that that was in there, and she doesn't consider it a mistake. She'll go forward right away and make sure that everyone who was supposed to be covered under the original intent of the bill will be processed. And that she's ready to do, because that's what the bill was supposed to do. And she was ready to sign it, and the money was identified, and everything is good. But did she say that she wants to see another bill come from the legislature to cut off everyone else who's looking at the $150 million that should have come from the federal government? No. No. And again, think, this is $150 million that's not going to come out of federal funds. It's going to come from Section 30. It's going to come from, now that we don't have to pay EITC, it's going to come from, maybe we have to pass a bond, and the money that we would have had available from local revenues, now that we don't have to pay EITC, can go to that bond to pay the $150 million, because the legislature passed a bill that said so, and the governor signed it. Nobody in Adelup reads either, unless they all read political. Ooh, look. I'm not going to be the one to say, I'm not going to be the one to raise a red flag. Even Senator Chris Duenas, I didn't see it. Everyone's claiming not to have seen it, but maybe they all saw it. Maybe every single one of them saw it, and nobody was going to jump up and have everyone point to him and go, "What are you doing? You're the one that stopped it?" Isn't politics wonderful here on Guam? You can do just all sorts of creative and wonderful things for the people of Guam. We live in an amazing day. Amazing. We can hear about it. We can read about it. We can even express our opinion about it. Another, Joe, you got less than a minute. Less.
Well, Klitzkie just bringing up these senators. They need a good bill writer. Otherwise, the bills aren't worth toilet paper. That's about all they're worth. So maybe this is worth
$150 million. Do not roll up. Do not lose that roll of toilet paper. That's $150 million.
Bob's been saying that every senator, maybe we should make every senator promise to hire a good bill writer, and then they can blame the bill writer. Otherwise, they keep making the same mistake, right, and not reading what they're passing is what you're suggesting, right?
Well, I used to be one of those. I used to be one of those bill writers and bill readers. Yes, that was my forte. That was my thing.
That's why you're the man, Daryl. That's why you're the man.
But I'm here. I'm here today. Thank you very much, Another Joe. Have a good weekend. And that'll do it for today's show and for the week. We'll be back on Monday at 4 o'clock on Monday afternoon for another edition of Tall Tales. Ray Gibson will be back at 6 o'clock on Monday morning. And until then, have yourselves a really good weekend, everyone. Stay dry and stay safe.
The Point is KUSG, Hagåtña, Guam, 93.3 FM and 104.3 HD3.
He says there's a deal coming. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. President Biden telling a CNN town hall meeting he's confident negotiators will work out details of his social spending plan,
which he had originally proposed at $3.5 trillion. Now it's being trimmed down in order to get it past senators who say it was too expensive. So will he be able to get a deal?
I think so. You know, look, I was a senator for 370 years. And I was relatively good at putting together deals.
One thing getting stripped from the deal, free community college. He said that will happen in the future. The president also said in the future there's going to have to be filibuster reform in the Senate in order to pass measures on voting rights and other divisive issues.
Fox's Jill Nato, the president also said he'd consider using the National Guard to help solve supply chain problems. A spokesman for the White House later saying that's not under consideration. Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis says he has the solution for the container ships stacked up waiting to dock in California.
If you're going to sit off the coast for days on end, you might as well just bring it to Florida. We've got great logistics on the ground that can get it to market, and we're happy to be able to step up because there are empty shelves. This is driving inflation. This is going to cause shortages. We already see shortages.
The governor says Florida has plenty of port capacity. The sheriff in Santa Fe, New Mexico, says actor Alec Baldwin pulled the trigger on a prop gun on a movie set Thursday, and it fired, killing the movie's cinematographer and wounding its director. The gun was supposed to be loaded with blanks. An investigation underway. No charges so far. Alabama has lethally injected convicted killer Willie B. Smith III after the Supreme Court denied his 11th hour appeal. Wall Street mixed on Thursday. The Dow lost 6 points. NASDAQ gained 94. The S&P 500 added 13 for a new record close. Asian stock markets closing Friday lower. America is listening to Fox News.
Fox News celebrates 25 years.
My name is Sean Hannity, and I've been at Fox from day one, October 1996. My first love was radio. I never imagined myself being on TV, and it was certainly a learning curve for me. I'm Sean Hannity. She is the politician who has taken America by storm. It changed my life in every way imaginable. I say what I say loudly, I say it proudly, and I say it unapologetically. We're the USA. We can do better. My father died 6 months after I started at Fox, and the one thing my father would say to me, where did this come from? And I said, I don't know. It's in there somewhere. My message to the people is thank you. This is an honor to do what I do every day. And what I can do in return is just my very, very best. And that effort, that passion from day one has never left me.
Hashtag Fox News 25.
The House has voted to hold former Trump White House advisor Steve Bannon in contempt of Congress for defying a subpoena from the House Select January 6th Committee for documents and testimony. Attorney General Merrick Garland told the House Judiciary Committee yesterday that parents who speak out at school board meetings have no reason to fear the FBI unless they threaten someone.
I can't imagine any circumstance in which the Patriot Act would be used in the circumstances of parents complaining about their children, nor can